Sway broke up. What happened there?
As long as people are continuing to post and talk about it, I think that Sway is alive. There's no better story than the Sway story, I think.
You and Nessa got back together.
I mean, I don't know where people find this information. People are going to be confused. That's just how it is.
You mentioned Bryce, and I'm just gonna ask, is he okay? Like, what's going on with him and Addison? Were you surprised by the allegations?
I mean, I'm not really surprised when I hear any allegations now.
I want to say congrats on Crosscheck Studios.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
It's incredible. You and Mark Wahlberg basically have formed this new production company that will focus on Gen Z content, correct?
Yeah, we're going to be really focusing on the unscripted side of content, but definitely going to be that hub for anyone in Gen Z wanting to create that type of content.
What were those initial conversations with Mark like?
For a kid that grows up idolizing Mark Wahlberg and watching his films and seeing him be able to pivot his career from the Calvin Klein model to Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch to now doing movies and then opening up Wahlburgers, I really respect the fact that he's a titan. He's able to really pivot his career. That's something I've done throughout my social media career, is continuously pivot. So I just really respect that, and to be able to work together with him is definitely an honor.
It's so funny that you were such a fan of his. Was he a fan of yours? Did he know who you were? Did his daughters know who you were?
I haven't got to ask about his daughters know my TikTok or anything like that. I'm sure they're busy watching all their dad's movies, right? But when we got to talking, we'll all hang out. I'm sure I'll film some TikToks with his daughters and do some stuff there.
So let's talk about this content. You said it's gonna be like unscripted mostly?
Yeah, definitely focusing on the docu-series, going into the unscripted content, but have the ability to do the scripted content as well. We definitely have a lot of stuff on the site right now. We have some really cool stuff in the sports world that we're talking about. I mean, for me, someone that, grew up an athlete, grew up playing sports, it's definitely cool that could possibly be one of the first greenlit things. But I would say the next 3 months, we'll definitely have a better idea of release times and release dates.
Is there an athlete whose story you would love to tell through a docu-series?
I think that Derrick Rose would be a very cool story to tell, just with the battling of injuries and being projected to be one of the best players, and then obviously having to continuously come back from that. I think that probably what we all haven't seen from, the mental side of what that does to a pro athlete when they're not able to play the sport they love, right? Or the sport they are also paid millions of dollars to do, and maybe have family relying on them.
I would watch that one. I was obviously heartbroken by what happened.
Yeah.
Him and his injury. What about from the TikTok world? Anyone whose story you would love?
I mean, there's no better story than the Sway story, I think. I don't really think you can top it. When you're talking maybe the best docuseries of all time, I would say maybe that has to be that. For TikTok, it would have to be the Sway one.
Is that in the works?
It's always been something we've talked about. I think that the Sway boys have always lived their lives thinking we're gonna have a movie be made about us one day, and that might be half of us being egotistical douches a little bit, but the other half is us we're content creators. We know what good content is. So I think that there is some truth to it, hopefully, and there'll be some cool docuseries or a biographical film or something.
Do you feel like you guys are the equivalent of, did you ever watch Entourage?
Yeah, of course.
Do you guys feel like you are Entourage?
I think that we have our own entourage, right? We have our own little group. So I think either a show would be really cool, or even something following The Dirt, Motley Crue's film on Netflix. That was wicked. Doing the movie about, I think, a couple of Sway stories definitely could get interesting, really get into the real truths behind Sway.
Would you put it all out there, or are there things that you would be
I think you have to. No, I think you have to. When it comes to the movie, because then at that point you can be oh, it's just Hollywood, right? If it's something really serious and it's we can't say it, we can just be that was just Hollywood spicing it up. That didn't actually happen. You know what I mean? So we have that leeway. We have the cover.
Sway broke up. What happened there?
I think that people, they're just throwing what they hear on the internet together. They're just throwing those pieces. Sway's a brotherhood. Sway's a lifestyle. So at the end of the day, as long as people are continuing to post and talk about it, I think that Sway's alive.
So Sway, are you saying that Sway did not officially break up?
I'm saying that I think people are turning the Sway breakup or whatever people are trying to phrase it as into something that it just isn't. It's not as much of a negative thing as people are turning it into. I think that's where I'm trying to go with it.
I think that's super helpful. Is it because everyone kind of, I think, moved into the Triller compound? Or I guess walk me through then what happened.
Yeah, no, there's been a couple moves. So the boys are a rowdy bunch. We get up to some stuff. So it's just been like a group was in one house and then 3 people had to move to a different one, or maybe people were tired of the noise. People are all heading in different directions, as you can tell, like with this production company with me and Mark. And then you see Jaden killing it on the music side, and you see Bryce now with really focusing in on the YouTube and entertainment. Everyone's following their path, and that's what Sway was for. And I think that's what people are missing out, is Sway was that family that all worked together so that we could follow our dreams and achieve those. And that's what we talked about in all those first meetings, was like, Sway's going to be on top. We're going to crush it. And now we're actually doing that. And I think people are like, oh, because they're not doing it necessarily all together at like the exact same thing. It's a breakup, but it's just everyone has their own passions, right? We're not all the same person.
Sway was kind of the place for you guys all to launch. Now you guys have all launched. Is kind of what you're
saying.
saying.
And it's like we're still all buddies, right? I've hung out with Bryce a bunch of times, and I was with Jaden and Anthony yesterday. I opened up sports cards, and it's like we're always doing stuff. Blake came by and showed us his collection, so it's like we're always hanging out and just
You mentioned Bryce, and I'm just gonna ask, is he okay? Like, what's going on with him and Addison? I know you talked about this on your podcast a little bit, which is why I'm asking you.
For me, it's like I'm the wrong guy to ask, right? I'm not in their relationship, sadly, it's just Bryce and Addison. So that's all for him to speak about, and that's for Addison to speak about. I don't want to put words into their relationship or anything that they don't want to put out on the internet,
Were you surprised by the allegations?
I mean, I'm not really surprised when I hear any allegations now on the internet, just because like people are crazy. So they'll throw at the most offside or the most unbelievable or detrimental to your career, whatever there's always going to be people doing that. So I tend not to really believe what I first hear, especially when it comes from someone I have no idea or a random source.
But he's doing okay, right?
Yeah, no, I think that mentally guys doing all right.
In happier news, you and Nessa got back together.
I mean, I don't know where people find this information, right?
I found it on your podcast.
Like, you guys are now officially coupled, so we don't have to play that fake game. You're very overt about it on social media.
Dave, you're hitting on my girl? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no.
No. See, that's just Dave. That's just Dave being Dave.
Dave was calling her your girl, and you weren't.
Well, it's like, for the flow of the podcast, what I have come to terms with is that it's almost just easier to like move on, right? It's like, if I'm just that guy that's like, no, Dave, no, that's not what it is. Like, every time he brings it up, the podcast ain't going. You're not going to get any other content besides me saying, hey, Dave, we're friends. And then Dave being like, no, you're not. So at the end of the day, I was like, for the fans, for the people, I'll take the hit and just like roll with it. Just because I'm a great guy, really.
Well, so are you guys not back together then? I'm so confused.
Yeah, people are going to be confused.
Okay.
That's just how it is.
Are you guys working through things, or you're just...
No, we're just like best friends.
Oh, you're just best friends. I don't think that's weird or that's confusing. I think that's like a super cool thing. You guys had a relationship and now you're best friends, and your co-host refuses to accept that.
Yeah, co-host just being their co-host self,
Do you think you guys will get back together?
I have no idea. I mean, like, I think if we're meant to be, we will be.
Okay. Yeah. Why then? This is my last question about this, but
I love our interviews. They're so amazing.
Aren't they fun though? Like, does it feel like an interview, or does it?
No, it never really does. It feels like I'm doing like a FaceTime or something. It's great. I love it. It's awesome.
She was getting hit on by someone, I think on TikTok, an athlete's brother, and you sort of swooped in there. Why?
Because I mean, I'm just that like friend that's gonna be there to, how everyone has the friend that has to like I gotta be careful with my wording here. I'm trying not to say anything wrong, but essentially it was just like funny. I just like trolling people. I just like people a little bit every once in a while, and like I was bored. You know, Bills were playing at the start of all that drama, and like it was like Super Bowl season, and I was like, you know what? This guy's probably like the least self-aware guy I could find on the internet. This would be hilarious and probably some entertaining. You know, pass some time, COVID, nothing really to do. So maybe just like have some Twitter beef.
I love the honesty.
Yeah, gotta stay authentic. You know?
Yeah. Do you feel like you're a mini Mark Wahlberg in a way?
That's the goal, 100%, right? Is to be that mogul. I don't know if I can take the mini Mark Wahlberg title yet, but maybe after the production company brings home an Emmy, then we'll see if that title can stay.
What is going on the acting front? Do you have anything lined up? Will you produce a movie through Crosscheck Studios that you will star in?
Yeah, of course. I think that's definitely a part of this production company, is to hopefully have myself maybe be a star in one of the films. But I definitely want to have the experience of being an executive producer too. I want to be able to, you know, really hone in on that creation of content. That's always just been something that I'm so passionate about.
So we're not going to hear an announcement tomorrow though that's like Josh Richards starring in XYZ movie.
I don't think you'll hear it tomorrow, but hopefully you'll hear it soon.